Hi, I'm Dr. Phil. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. Whether you're watching this online, whether you're watching it at your computer, maybe your TV, maybe your iPhone, I don't know. But thank you so much. You know, part of my role here at the Head Start Consortium is to be able to come along beside parents in a lot of the parent engagement and equipping them and developing them as parents while their children are in this consortium, the Head Start program, getting them kindergarten ready. And many of you, as faculty, teachers, aides, management, whatever your role is, you're often trained in a lot of different things. One of the heartbeats of this whole consortium with Dr. Kathy, the executive director, is to also not just to train people to do a certain job and to be able to do good at that job, but how can you get developed as a person in leadership while you're in this consortium? How can you learn about life and relationships? Everything we do is tied to relationships and working with other people. And so this lessons that we're going to be talking with, we're looking at the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. This is that little book. You're going to get this book. This will be yours to keep, yours to read. And I'm going to kind of give you the cliff notes on this book in these lessons. But when Dr. Gary Chapman, when he wrote his book, The 5 Love Languages, the book that talked about the secret to love that lasts, he had no idea that his book would have such an impact that it did. I mean, it sold over 6 million copies and still selling today. Been translated in over 40 different languages. But what Gary Chapman and Paul White, which is the co-author of this book, what they did realize is that the concept, the meat and potatoes of the 5 love languages had potentially of greatly enhancing all our relationships. Because listen, all of life that we're in involves relationships. It involves us having the ability to be able to connect with other people. And, none of us are an island. I don't care whether you work in an office of 3 or an office of 33. You always have people around you. Even in shopping and even in our everyday life, we're always connecting, rubbing shoulders with people. Relationships are so important. And if we can learn how to improve our work relationships, it makes life better. It makes work better. I mean, hey, most of us know that if you have a bad day at work, you don't leave work and go home and forget about it. A lot of times you take that baggage with you and you walk in and you unload it on your spouse or your kids or whoever. And so relationships are important. You know, studies show that we'll spend about 2.6 years of our life sleeping, about 3.6 years of our life eating. Some of us eat more than others. 4.3 years of our life driving. But we'll listen to this. We'll spend 10.3 years of our life working. Now that's approximately 14% of your life and my life that we are in a workplace of some form. Whether you're new to this consortium, whether you've been around for a while, 14%. Now if you're an overachiever like many of you are, and I are one, you'll spend about 15% of your life, or 15 years of your life. That's about 20 years of your life in a workplace. And business relationships are important. Relationships with our coworkers are important. And the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, they're going to help us identify what is our language of appreciation. What is the language of the person that I'm working with? And how do you use that language? In this book, there's MBA, Motivated by Appreciation inventory that you can go and you can go online and you can kind of discover your predominant language. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But this book is going to be able to help you, number one, as a person to develop. I guarantee you, you can't read this book and put these principles into practice without understanding how important they are in your marriage, in your parenting, but particularly with your coworkers. And the book's broken up in 4 sections. There's a foundation, the concept of motivating by appreciation, the 5 languages. We're going to kind of break them down. How do we apply the languages? How do we look at those concepts and how do we apply them to our daily life? Number 4, how do we overcome common obstacles? Because there are many. How do we overcome those? And the number one job to be able to use what we learn and put it into practice. And then how do we do that self-inventory in our life? Because again, the studies show that the number one factor in job satisfaction, okay, when they asked across the board, Forbes had done their study, Gallup poll has done their studies, when they ask people what is the number one factor in job satisfaction, now listen, it's not the amount of money we make. Now listen, it's not. Now, people say, well, it's always about the money. No, it's not. Not when you drill down to this thing. But whether or not the number one factor in job satisfaction is whether or not the individual feels valued and appreciated for the work that they do. Do I feel valued? Do I feel appreciation? Now again, a lot of times, and we'll talk a little bit about this later in one of the chapters, you know, we're accustomed to gather in the room and you know, everybody's here and the leader says, hey, you know, you guys are doing a great job. Give yourselves a hand, you know, and everybody clap, clap, clap. And we think we've appreciated everybody. But there's people out there that appraise and verbal words isn't their love language. That means nothing to them. It misses the mark. So we're going to look at how do we dig down, how do we drill down, what's my language, what's my coworker's language, how do we navigate that, how do we use those concepts to build. And again, so often what happens is when you go to a workplace and you start a new job, people focus on training. And training is important because training is what focuses on the curriculum. You have to be trained in a certain way. This is how, you know, this consortium is a government-run, government-funded. And let me tell you, the government has got lots of a curriculum. And some of you already know now, some of you will learn later that you can be handed one way to do something and 6 weeks down the road the government said, no, we want you to do this over here. So curriculum is important, being trained in that. But development focuses on the person. You know, training is about the curriculum. This is what we need to do. Development always focuses on the people. Training oftentimes will test your patience when you're trying to learn a new program, a computer program, what. But development, now listen, development will test our courage. Do we have the courage to develop ourselves? Do we have the courage to look at ourselves as we look in the mirror and see our blind spots and then have the courage to say, hey, I want to address that. You know, you've heard of people that go from job to job to job, and every time they go from job to job, well, you know, over here this is happening, over here this is happening. Oh, and here's what I tell people. I said, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. And sometimes you have to have the courage to be able to develop yourself, grow past. What can I learn from that? You know, there's an old Southern saying that if one person calls you a horse's butt, then you ignore them. If 2 people calls you a horse's butt, you need to look in the mirror and say, well, maybe. If 3 people call you a horse's butt, you need to buy a saddle. Just chances are they might be telling the truth. And again, development is having the courage to look at yourself and say, wait a minute, maybe there's some things I can do different in my relationships. Training often focuses just on the present, but development always looks towards the future. Training is about the moment. Development is about the future. How can I be different, start developing today where I'll be different down the road from now? 6 weeks from now, 6 months from now, 6 years from now. What can I do to develop myself? Number 4, training focuses often on maintenance, while development focuses on growth. And again, a lot of the training that you get, and you have to have that. Again, I'm not against training, but training focuses on just that maintenance side of things. How do we keep things rolling? Development focuses on growth. And number 5, training focuses on the role that you're supposed to be carrying out. Development focuses on the person. And ultimately, what we want to do is we want to build ourselves. We want to focus on our own personhood. And development enables us to reach that effectiveness that we want. It helps us find solutions and explore the unknowns in our own life. And sometimes development moves us beyond our comfort zone. Now, here's one of the things I know is so important, that you and I have to stay in our gift zone. Where are we gifted? What's our niche? That's important. But sometimes people, they don't never live up to their full potential, not because they're being forced out of their gift, but they're not being forced out of their comfort zone. I don't want to get you out of your gift zone, but I do want to get you out of your comfort zone. And sometimes when it comes to relationships particularly, the comfort zone is, well, I don't want no confrontation, and I don't want nobody upset at me, and I want everybody to be happy. And sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone and be willing. Again, first of all, look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, okay, am I part of the problem? And then also look at what's happening and say, hey, listen, the only way we can really grow is we got to be able to deal with this. So we're going to take this book. We're going to walk through this book. Now, I'm going to give you, again, this is your book. You're going to get one of these. This will be yours to read. I'm going to give you some cliff notes, and we're going to kind of navigate this. So we'll be coming back here, and we'll be starting with section 1, talking about some foundations of the 5 languages appreciation in the workplace.